What's up, everybody? This is Danny Thompson with AroundTheAssociation.com, and this is the Around the Association podcast, the Eastern Conference second half edition. We just recorded the Western Conference coming back edition. I think it was Tuesday, and kind of been a busy week. So we got the Thursday pod coming out right before we get to the second half tip-off game. So in the first podcast, we discussed each storyline for the 15 teams that are going to go on in the Western Conference for the final few weeks of the NBA season. Now, in this podcast, we're going to talk about the conference that made the most exciting changes, which is the Eastern Conference. So the Eastern Conference race is kind of broken down into three tiers. You have the teams that are championship contenders, which is about maybe 3 or 4 of them. When I say championship, teams that legitimately have a chance at the NBA Finals. Then you have the group of teams that are going to be definitely playoff teams. And then you have the group of teams that are going to be fighting for the playoffs. And after that, you have the teams like the Knicks in the lottery. So let's start at the very top. You can never stop from first to last. You go from top to bottom. So let's start with the Milwaukee Bucks, who lead the Eastern Conference, have the best record in the entire NBA as we start the second half of the season. And really the main storyline for them is just finishing things off. And when I say finishing things off, it's real simple. The Bucks have to get home court. Even though the Bucks have one of the 2 best records in the NBA on the road, that means nothing in a playoff series. Because teams like Boston and even Toronto, and I say Toronto because the majority of the roster has gotten playoff experience, especially together. And when they added Danny Green and Kawhi Leonard, they've got championship experience on the roster. Now, on the flip side, the Bucks, this unit, their core group, has not done anything deep in the playoffs. I mean, if you look at Giannis, you look at Chris Middleton, you look at Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon, Brook Lopez, those guys really have not accomplished much in the playoffs. Even Mirotic they brought in. They don't have that advantage in the playoffs. So every little bit helps. And it helps to have the best player in the Eastern Conference, which is Giannis Antetokounmpo, playing every position on the floor. And you have Chris Middleton, who some people didn't think was an all-star, which I'm still trying to figure out why. As we learned in the all-star game, the guy can shoot the basketball. And we didn't get to see his other great feature of his game, which is the ability to play defense, because in the all-star game, no one plays defense until the fourth quarter. Eric Bledsoe's had an all-star type of season at the point guard. Malcolm Brogdon is still one of the better shooters in the NBA and also allows Bledsoe to play the off guard. Don't forget Nikola Mirotic's impact. Now, his impact is going to change a lot of different things, especially with stretching the floor. Him and Brook Lopez are going to launch a ton of threes. So I think Lopez is averaging over 6 a game. Mirotic gets his share, and any type of rotation to have is going to be a really, really good rotation. And the Bucks are solid. I mean, the Bucks have made the moves, and they're set. All they have to do is just finish off with the Eastern Conference, because you do not, and I mean do not, want to play a road game 7 in Boston or in the team I'm going to mention who's in second place, which is the Toronto Raptors. Speaking of the Raptors, they went out and got Marc Gasol at the deadline. Another big, huge addition. Gasol is going to be a guy right now coming off the bench, but his ability to make plays, and I think he'll get a lot of fourth quarter minutes. It frees up so much space on the perimeter. Danny Green's had a phenomenal year shooting the 3-point ball. Kawhi Leonard is arguably an MVP candidate, definitely top 5 in the MVP voting right now. And then you have Pascal Siakam, who's just been, if he does win the most improved player of the year in the NBA, then something's wrong with the entire award itself. Don't forget, you have guys like OG Anunoby. You have, where Fred VanVleet comes back from injury. They added Jeremy Lamb when VanVleet went down. They have weapons upon weapons upon weapons. Don't forget Serge Ibaka. They have so many guys on the floor that can do damage. And I haven't even mentioned the other All-Star, Kyle Lowry. He's been stuck in a shooting slump all season. It just takes Lowry a couple games because he's been such a good shooter over his career to get it through. And he's one of the best passers in the NBA, as you can tell, because he leads the NBA in assists. Now the Raptors have to put it all together for first-year coach Nick Nurse. They have the pieces together. They made the run. Now the question is, can they finish the job in the North? I mean, really it is. If the Raptors can catch the Bucks and they get a game 7 at home in any series in the Eastern Conference, they're going to win most cases. The Raptors kryptonite is sitting in the Western Conference in the 9 or 10 spot right now, which is LeBron James. Now that he's gone, now the Raptors have a chance to win everything. The question is, kind of like the Bucks, they have to finish business. And now also, the major story is Kawhi Leonard cannot get hurt. As good as OG Anunoby has been, if Kawhi goes down, your chances to win the Eastern Conference slims down considerably, almost to none. Because Leonard is just that good of a basketball player. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers right now. The Sixers went out and got a second move before the deadline. They went and got Jimmy Butler earlier on in the season. Now they got Tobias Harris. And their starting five on paper is the best in the NBA. I even think better than Golden State because of the fact of when you look at the health factor, the weakest link of the starting five. I mean, I think Golden State gives them a run for the money as well too, because as of right now, because Cousins has not been completely let go. Now, mind you, minutes restriction is coming up even higher. He's going to play more than 25 minutes he's given. But right now, the Sixers have such a good starting five. It just has to be used correctly. The bench is still going to be suspect. I mean, they added Boban Marjanovic, who's going to play a backup center role. They have TJ McConnell. They have Landry Shamet, who's been really, really good off the bench. But it's really going to come down to the Sixers executing off the bench. Wilson Chandler and Yona Bolden. They have the guys to do it, but, Furkan Korkmaz just went down. I can see the Sixers going out and getting one more of these buyout guys. And the right fit is still sitting out there. Carmelo Anthony. He's the right fit, but if they have to go in the playoffs with what they have, the Sixers are going to have to ride those horses completely. And the big storyline for the Sixers is coming together. If they don't come together, this thing will fall apart. If it falls apart, Brett Brown might be out of a job. And the real question is, will Elton Brand bring this unit together under a brand new coach if this thing falls apart? The Boston Celtics is kind of the same thing as the Sixers right now. It's a whole bunch of guys trying to get together to get one cause. Listen, the Celtics are playing for right now. You cannot worry about what happens in July with Anthony Davis because we haven't gotten to July yet. Like I said, we've all known there's been one big chemistry issue with this entire team all season. And at the end of the day, it really comes down to, can the Celtics get it together? And that's the big storyline for them is, can the Celtics get it together? We've given Brad Stevens his big, sign as one of the best inbound coaches in the league, especially late game situations. One of the best X and O guys, one of the best head coaches. This is going to be a true test of how good his coaching ability is, because when you look at the team right now, they have all the talent in the world, but can he get Kyrie Irving and those guys on the same page together? Can he find Gordon Hayward the Gordon Hayward we saw before the injury? It's been about half the season and Hayward is still just trying to find his way. And I know the injury takes a while, but they're going to need the Gordon Hayward, at least 90% of Gordon Hayward, because he is the X factor. It's not Kyrie Irving. It's not Al Horford. It's not Jaylen Brown, not Jason Tatum. The X factor is Gordon Hayward, because Hayward can create off the dribble. He can create for others, and he's a 20-point a game scorer, if needed to be. If he's out there doing what Gordon Hayward did in Utah and you throw Kyrie Irving on the perimeter, it doesn't make Kyrie so much of a ball dominant player. Hayward can play with the second unit. He can find Terry Rozier and make Terry Rozier exist when Kyrie Irving's actually playing. Jaylen Brown is starting to come along, and if Jason Tatum can find some rhythm with Al Horford and those guys, they're a dangerous team, and they're still the favorite in the East. I know I love Milwaukee. I love Toronto. I still think Boston is still the favorite in the East. So as we continue going down the Eastern Conference stretch, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers real quick. The Pacers, they had so many high hopes, after having a great playoff series last year and falling one game short of beating the Cavs. Victor Oladipo and company rolled into the season, and they were a top 3 team in the East until Oladipo went down. Now the Pacers have been playing on Band-Aids. They added Wesley Matthews, and everybody seemed to be playing together for each other. And it's a great and beautiful thing to see. Now the major question for Indiana is, who is the guy that's going to finish games? Oladipo was that guy. Miles Turner, I'm not sure, is that guy. So somebody, especially on the perimeter, has to show that they can close out games and be the guy to take and hit the big shot. If Wesley Matthews can do that, Wesley Matthews will elevate his free agent stock to levels that we have not seen since before the injury and when he was that guy in Dallas. Other options, Tyreek Evans, if Evans' body can stay together, Darren Collison, Corey Joseph, somebody has to become the closer from the perimeter. It can't be on Sabonis. It can't be on Miles Turner. I know teamwork has been the game, Bogdanovic, but somebody has to be able to be the game-changing, game-breaking guy that finishes games off in Indiana. So we look at those 4 teams, the top 5 teams in the East. Now let's go to the most exciting team in the Eastern Conference, which is the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets have they've built themselves on a style that is just fun to watch. D'Angelo Russell is turning is turned into an all-star and really has turned into the centerpiece of what Brooklyn has been showing. They got Karis LeVert back before the break, and really, when you have time off coming off a foot injury, only thing it's going to do is help you when it comes to getting yourself and your timing back in. You have him back. They're going to get Spencer Dinwiddie back in a couple weeks. Dinwiddie is the super sub 6-man off the bench. You have 3-point champion Joe Harris on the perimeter and Jared Allen, who's not afraid to block shots. I'm not saying Brooklyn's going to win a playoff series, but Brooklyn, if they get the right matchup in the playoffs, is going to cause all kind of trouble for anybody in the Eastern Conference in the playoffs. They are this year's Indiana Pacers. They're going to give whoever they play in the first round the biggest headache. And if their 3-point shots going down, they can win any game in this playoff series. Do not sleep on how good the Nets are. So you have those two teams. Now you have the teams that are fighting for the playoffs. It's about a group of about 4 or 5 teams in this situation. You have the Detroit Pistons who hold one of the final playoff spots. The Pistons have turned into all-star season with Blake Griffin, might be one of his best of his entire career. Andre Drummond's dropping rebounds, and they've traded for they acquired Wade Ellington in the buyout market. The problem with the Pistons is that they still have Reggie Jackson as point guard. So if Reggie Jackson is still your point guard, then anything goes at this point. They're still struggling to score from the wing, and I'm just not confident in the Pistons. The only reason why the Pistons could potentially make the playoffs is the fact that the rest of the Eastern Conference has so many more issues like themselves. The Charlotte Hornets are in a playoff spot. The problem is the Hornets are not consistent. It's inconsistencies and blowing leads, and the Hornets have blown a ton of them this year. So if Charlotte can't close out games, they can't win games either. Kemba Walker is an all-star. He starred the whole weekend in Charlotte as being his hometown. Now he has to prove why he's potentially a $200 million man. If we thought the early season Kemba was something, late season Kemba has to basically do what early season Kemba did. They've got to win games to get in the playoffs. You look at the Miami Heat, they're now starting to get healthy. Gordon Dragic should be back very soon. And, if Hassan Whiteside would decide to show up the rest of the season, it's going to make things different. Now they got rid of Wade Ellington's no longer there and Tyler Johnson's no longer there, which kind of frees up some of the backcourt space. Don't forget Justice Winslow's been phenomenal playing in Dragic's absence. They have James Johnson, you have Kelly Olynyk, and Bam Adebayo, but the X factor is Dragic's return, and can Hassan Whiteside actually play basketball and continue to play basketball. The Orlando Magic is fighting for a playoff spot as well, too. The Magic basically made a decision for the deadline by not trading Nikola Vucevic and Terrence Ross, 2 guys that are impending free agents. They decide to go with what they have. The problem is the Magic do have issues on the bench. Markelle Fultz is coming soon. We just don't know when. The bench is still not very good. They still have a point guard. No offense against DJ Augustine, but the backup point guard situation has not been filled, and Augustine's not 35 a game night. 35 minutes a game guy at the point guard position. Not sure they can make the playoffs that way. And you look at the last team that's fighting for the playoffs is the Washington Wizards. Even without John Wall, for some reason, it's the Eastern Conference, and the Wizards are still part of the playoff mix. Brad Beal has been an all-star season. They've gotten some great play from Bobby Portis and Jabari Parker since the trade. And now Dwight Howard's now trying to find himself back on the floor. This could get interesting in Washington. Outside of those, the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference have no chance of making it. Chicago, gone. They've had injuries, and the Bulls are not ready for the playoffs just yet. Cavs, terrible. See you later. They're not making the playoffs either. They're fighting to make sure they get a top 3 or 4 pick. We all know how bad New York is. And Atlanta still has Trae Young and John Collins, so interesting to watch. So, I don't really have to go into too much detail with the four worst teams in the Eastern Conference, because really, we all know where they're going. The real question is where they're going to end up in the lottery. So, let me know your opinions down below. And at the same time, do you think any of these teams in the Eastern Conference can challenge the Golden State Warriors? I think there might be 3 of them. Let me know your thoughts. So, we'll catch you guys later on this week. This is Danny Thompson from the Association. Peace. Bro.